In the summer of 2003, a miracle named Peter arrived 3 months ahead of schedule, weighing a mere 2.5 pounds, exactly half the size of a 5-pound bag of sugar. His early arrival transformed him from an anticipated autumn baby into a summer child. Immediately, he was placed in an incubator, his tiny eyes shielded to prevent photosensitivity. The sight of my grandson, swaddled in wires and tubes, his miniature hands reaching out into the void, was heart-wrenching. The most comfort I could offer him was a gentle stroke on his foot through a small opening inside the incubator. His body so tiny that when he cried, the sound was like a whisper, floating on a feather, landing on your heart. His tiny arms were kept covered, so he couldn't scratch himself. And days after his birth, the nurses would cover his little head with a knitted cap to keep the monitors and tubes in place as much as keeping his head warm. I watched Peter develop outside his mother's womb. It would be 6 months before I could hold him. But when I did, the euphoric feeling that rushed over me was like a dam breaking, an emotional rush that could never be duplicated. I must admit, I was cautiously happy when I was finally able to hold my grandson in my arms. Peter's home for the next 200 days would be the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, the NICU. Every day that Peter lived in the NICU filled me with agony, and yet I held on to my faith. My daughter would call me at work. "Mommy, please pray for Peter," she would say. "He's having a test today, and he may go blind." Or, "Mommy, please pray today. Peter is having a test, and he may lose his hearing." Every day, and with every call, I was suffocated with fear. It was a stifling time, leaving me feeling smothered, choking on all possible risks caused by testing. The air seemed oppressive, and I struggled to breathe. When he was finally discharged, he had grown to a robust 24 pounds, making him the largest baby to ever leave the NICU. Transitioning to life at home was not without its challenges. Peter required round-the-clock nursing care due to complications with his heart and lungs. This round-the-clock nursing would last for 36 months. As he grew, we discovered Peter had a food sensitivity, requiring the use of a permanent feeding tube for 9 long years. As Peter's parents returned to their careers, I found my role evolving. With a flexible schedule, I was able to check in on the nurses and visit my grandson. Finally able to hold him, I never wanted to put him down. As he grew, I often took him to therapy appointments and volunteered at his school as a reading coach, until one day his classmate sat beside me during class. Peter turned to me and asked, "What are you doing?" I explained, "He's my reading partner today." Peter hissed at me, "You are my grandmother, not his. You be my reading partner, then you go home." Peter was becoming more assertive. He was getting healthy. Peter was becoming my constant companion. I was getting dressed one day. He picked up my bra, dangling it from its straps, and said, "Here, don't forget your seatbelt." And then there was another time when Peter asked me very intentionally, "Hey, when am I going to get my hang-down fat parts like you?" Peter had become very observant. Our time together was challenging due to the tight feeding schedule imposed by the feeding tube. However, I spent summers with Peter, taking him to Frisbee camp, chauffeuring him to summer school and summer camp, picking him up from cross-country track practice. As Peter got older and about to enter junior high, he decided to pull the feeding tube out of his stomach, refusing to be fed formula any longer. My heart stopped when I heard this news. We explained to him eating would be a serious matter. Constantly researching to find food that was safe for Peter to eat, we began this journey together. Introducing him to food and preparing home-cooked meals to put before him when he walked into the house was a real joy for me. But for Peter, not so much. After school one afternoon, he announced, "I don't want you to come back tomorrow or the next day." I explained that I needed to be there when he came home to make sure he ate. "My mother taught me to use the microwave," he said. Dismissed and dismayed, I was devastated. Now, I'm not sure when I realized my prayers were being answered. I had watched over this baby since the day he was born. My fervent prayer was that he would grow strong, have a healthy brain, be mobile, not need round-the-clock nursing care, and he would eat solid food and not choke. Peter did thrive. A golfer since age 6, he is also a caddy and very close to earning the highest caddy rank. Peter is an Eagle Scout and a Martin Luther King Jr. Character Award winner. Receiving a full academic scholarship, he is a sophomore in college, a member of the University Honors Program, majoring in mechanical engineering. When I think back over this time, a time when it was difficult to have hope, I remembered that God promised you He will give you the strength to bounce back. Peter and I did bend, but Peter and I did not break. In the tapestry of life, you are not alone. The breath you breathe intertwines with cosmic threads, and the compelling force within you declares, "We shall prevail." Peter too dances to this rhythm, a testament to resilience. "Fear not, for blessings were etched in stardust long before you were born." And the universe echoes these reassurances. Peter and I are woven into the constellations, resilient and thriving. I often tell him how proud of him I am and how I know how I know that I was meant to be his grandmother.